ॐ अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। In the last session, we have seen that the well-known scientists of the globe have found something in common with philosophy or Vedanta of India, or Upanishadic principles and physics. So, about quantum dynamic also, they have something to say. So, what is quantum dynamics? Quantum chromodynamics is the theory describing subnuclear particles called quarks and gluons, subatomic particles, which are the constituents of hadrons such as protons and neutrons. It is part of the standard model describing our current understanding of elementary particles, such as we know that electrons, protons, and neutrons are the atomic particles. Niels Bohr says about Vedas, he was fascinated with Vedas, and he says his remarks that I go to Upanishad to ask questions reveals a lot about his respect for the ancient wisdom of India. Johnston states that the ancient message in Mundaka Upanishad is relevant to the modern age, where search for the application of truth alone often predominates the fields of science. So there is obviously only one alternative, he wrote, namely the unification of minds or consciousness. Their multiplicity is only apparent. In truth, there is only one mind. This is the doctrine of Upanishads. According to Upanishads, Brahman alone exists. So Mundaka Upanishad says this. So Brahmai Vedam Purastat, Brahma Pastat, Brahma Dakshinatastotarena, Adashchodhvam cha prasrutam, Brahmai Vedam Vishwamidam Varishtham. All that is in front of us is nothing but Brahman, the immortal. Brahman is at the back, also on the right and the left. It is extended and above and below too. This world is nothing but Brahman, the highest or the supreme in this universe, says Mundaka Upanishad. So the Erwin Schrödinger has formulated this equation between science and Upanishads. One of the core of ideas of Upanishads is the equation Brahman is equal to Atman and universe is equal to self. Therefore, Atman is equal to Brahman is scientifically proved because energy is the same in all the things. The universe, that is Brahman, is made up of the same stuff we are Atman are made up of. This is the message of Chandogya Upanishad, Tattvam Asi. So this is explained through a simple experiment. Uh, yes, let me take 2 or 3 minutes to tell the story. So, Shvetaketu had been to Gurukula for 10 to 12 years, and he learned all the Vedas, Vedangas, and whatever it was taught there. And he had all them on the tip of his tongue. So he was very haughty. And then once his father wanted to know what he has understood. So he asked him a question. And then he explains the omnipresence of God through an experiment. I think I have shared it with you in the last session. Let me take 2 or 3 minutes to repeat the same. that is, he asks him to bring a vessel with water. The son brings, and the father asks him to put the salt in it. The salt was put into it, and he asks him to keep the vessel away. On the next morning, the father or the teacher asked asked his son to bring the vessel. He brought, and the father asks whether the salt which you put in the yesterday night, the before night, can be seen. No, it could not be seen. Was it false? Was it true or not that the salt was put into water? It was true because Shvetaketu himself has put. So what has become salt? Salt has dissolved in each and every particle of water. So in the same way, the Brahman is existent or manifested in each and every atom of this universe. So as we cannot see the salt dissolved in water, we cannot see the Brahman who is present in each and every atom of this universe through the naked eye. So even the salt cannot be, salt which is dissolved in water cannot be seen by the naked eye. In the same way, the God or the Brahman who is manifested in each and every atom of this universe cannot be seen by the naked eye. So how can the water be felt? How can we know that the salt is dissolved in water? We have to taste it. So to see the everything, to see the Brahman in everything, and uh, Brahman in everything and everything in Brahman, we have to make the internal journey, says our Upanishads. So science, and this is the equation that is derived by Schrodinger between science and Upanishads. So we have something in common between quantum physics and Upanishads. So what are these? According to the Upanishads, Brahman alone exists. Quantum physics insists that reality exists as waves, and wave particle duality arises due to our observation. Because we cannot perceive the true wave nature of reality, our observation reduces it to the incomplete reality we see. So example for quantum physics is the bread toast which we enjoy while sipping on morning tea is able to make its way to our plate only because of quantum physics. The heating element of the toaster glows red to toast a slice of bread. Toasters are generally referred to as the reason why quantum physics came into the existence. So again, Max Planck, who is considered to be the father of this quantum physics, says all matter originates and exists only by a virtue of force. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter, is the Max Planck's quoting. Quotes Max Planck. So I'll repeat the Schrodinger's words. Schrodinger took on a peculiar line of thought. If the world is indeed created by our act of observation, there should be billions of such worlds, one for each of us. How come our world and my world, your world and my world and our world are the same? If something happens in my world, does it happen in your world too? What causes all these worlds to synchronize with each other? So he found his answer in Upanishads. There is obviously only one alternative, he writes, namely the unification of our minds or consciousness. Their multiplicity is only apparent. In truth, there is only one mind. This is the doctrine of Upanishads, is the conclusion of Erwin Schrödinger. According to the Upanishads, this is getting repeated, this word, because Brahman alone exists. Everything we see around us is Maya, that is multiplicity, as Erwin Schrödinger says, or illusion, as we say, a distortion of the Brahman caused due to our ignorance and imperfect senses. The Chandogya Upanishad says, all this is Brahman, everything comes from Brahman, everything goes back to Brahman, and everything is sustained by Brahman. The same is reflected in Taittiriya Upanishad also. Yasmat imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisambhishanti tad vijignyasasva tad brahmeti. So what is Brahma? The definition of Brahman given by Upanishads is he is the creator and he is the sustainer and he is the devastator, or he is the destroyer. So it as in the preamble of Vishnu Sahasranama says, Etas sarvani bhutani bhavanti adiyugagame ismimsta pralayam yanti punareva yugakshaye. So all this is Brahman, everything. Etas sarvani bhutani bhavanti adiyugagame. So all this, everything comes from Brahman. From microcosm to macrocosm world is created by Brahman. Yasmimscha pralayam yanti punareva yugakshaye. And everything goes back to Brahman. So quantum physics insists that the reality exists as waves. And wave particle duality arises due to our observation, because we cannot perceive the true wave nature of reality. Our observation reduces it to the incomplete reality we see. This reduction is what we know as the collapse of the wave function. The emergence of Maya thus neatly maps to the collapse. That is, see, I have taken this from the lecture of concepts of a lecture by Dr. Prashant Ray, which was given on 6th July 2016 about echoes of Vedanta in modern physics. So, I'm I'm taking his quotes. He has compared philosophy and methodology of Rishi's Upanishads with the philosophy and methodology of modern physics. So, what is the philosophy and methodology of Rishis? He says, the apparatus of the senses plus mentation and cerebration via the mind and brain, paroksha. Meditate is not only the means of fact-finding or the objective. Since every experience, including facts of the without, eventually culminates in perception and understanding within, the within may as well be addressed directly via meditation, aparoksha, immediate. So this is paroksha jnana and aparoksha jnana. So knowledge so-called derived from sense, mind, intellect, perception is relative, understood with reference to other things and not absolute. So inference is unreliable as a fact. I have taken these points from the lecture of Echoes of Vedanta and Modern Physics, interactive session held on 6/7/2016. This is the keynote address given by Prashanta Ray. So I have taken his excerpts in this presentation with gratitude. So philosophy and methodology of the Rishis in Upanishads, he has compared with the philosophy and methodology of the Upanishads, and also philosophy and methodology of science, methodology involved in science. So in philosophy, the apparatus of the senses and mentation and cerebration through the mind and the brain, paroksha, mediate, is not the only means of fact finding the objective. Since every experience, including facts of the without, eventually culminates in perception and understanding within, the within may as well be addressed directly through meditation, aparoksha, immediate. So, paroksha jnana and aparoksha jnana, knowledge jnana, so-called derived from sense, a mind, and intellect. Perception is relative, understood with reference to other things, and not absolute. Inference is unreliable as fact-finding means. Direct experience is better. There can be no such thing as understanding. Only familiarity is possible. Mathematics may say how, but not what. Gather experience or anubhuti, swanubhava, to the end. Do sadhana, diligent self-effort. The proof of pudding is in the eating. There is no other way. So philosophy and methodology of physics, there is subject or observer, and the observer independent object. Space and time are sovereign, absolute, objective, and independent of distinct from each other, and the constant setting or arena of phenomena. There is objective causality in phenomena, and the purpose of science is to discover causal links and use them to predict or control the events. A particular set of facts invariably leads causally to another particular, unfailingly causally predictable set. Inference is a reliable methodology. It is possible to understand and explain things and events and their causal causal interconnectivity. Perception through the usual apparatus of the senses and mentation and cerebration through the mind and brain is the only and an infallible means of fact finding the objective. Only that which is perceived or inferred from perception, in fact, is fact, truth. Such perception and inference constitute the strong basis for scientific understanding. Therefore, sharpening the powers of perception through instrumentation and sharpening logic lead to more and better fact finding and understanding, they say. Mathematics, a highly refined codified system of logic, is an infallible and unique means of understanding and predicting. Two classes of events following the same mathematics may be considered identical or similar. Diligent experimentation and having commendable intellect is necessary. That is how Tycho Brahe, a Danish astronomer mapping the heavens, Kepler, his assistant, discerning the laws of planetary motion in the maps. Newton, discovering universal gravitation from those laws spanning 100 years in all, did long and incredible collective sadhana in physics and or astronomy. So this is the difference given by them. So what are the salient findings of Vedanta? Perception through sense, mind and intellect mediate, distorts and cheats. So absorption, realization, sense, mind, intellect, aparoksha anubhuti, immediate apprehension is superior and necessary. See, what we see through sense, mind and intellect is distorts. It is, they cheat us. So absorption, realization through sense, mind and intellect, aparoksha anubhuti, immediate apprehension is superior and it is necessary. Ultimate reality, Brahman, is ekam eva advitiyam, one with no second. Ekam eva advitiya, that is ekam sat vipra bahudha vadanti. So there is only one reality and the scholars call it by different name. From before space-time, indescribable, anirvachaniya, undifferentiated, infinite, unchanging, birth, deathless, insubstantial, Mundaka Upanishad, first Kanda, sixth mantra says that Yattadadreshyam agrahyam agotram avarnam achakshushrotam tadapanipadam nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam tadavyayam yad bhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraha. By the higher knowledge or Brahma Jnana, the wise realize everywhere that which cannot be perceived and grasped, yet tadadreshyam, agrahyam, which cannot be grasped, which is without source, agotram, avarnam, has no gotra and no color, achakshushrodram, no eyes or ears, tadapanipadam, no legs or hands, nityam, which is always there, continuous, vibhum, which is omnipresent, present everywhere, sarvagatam, which is embedded in each and every atom of the universe, susukshmam, which is very subtle in nature, tadavyayam, which cannot be changed, yad bhutayonim paripashyanti dhiraha, and it is the cause of this universe, says the Mundaka Upanishad. So Brahman is all absolute, that is absolute existent, Sat. Chit is absolute consciousness and Ananda is absolute joy. Sarvam khalvidam Brahma. All this is verily Brahma, that is as appearing to sense, mind and intellect. Brahman's appearance through sense, mind and intellect or manifestation fundamentally and comprehensively different from Brahman is phenomena the world. Such appearance happens per the power of Maya, an aspect, so to say, of Brahman. Maya projects Brahman or makes it appear in ways that are delusive. Advaita holds phenomena is false, like the false perception of superimposition of adhyasa of a snake in a rope. See, a man sees a rope in darkness and he confuses it to be a snake. So such snake is neither real nor unreal, neither existence nor non-existence. See, it is true that it looks like a rope, looks like a snake. But is it really a snake? No. But does it not look so? Yes. So what is it? That is neither existence, it is neither real, such a snake is neither real nor unreal. That is, the snake is superimposed on the rope. So such a snake is neither real or unreal, neither existence or non-existence. The snake is unreal, but the rope is real. So Maya is avidya or ajnana, lack of knowledge, unreal, real. So if light exists and darkness is like lack of light, can one say darkness exists? So Nasadaya Sutta of Rigveda Nasat asti na sat asat tadina tadanim. Then there was neither existence nor non-existence, it says. The utterly non-existent asat, like a barren woman's child, as illustration given by Advaita, cannot become existent, nor vice versa, a kind of inevitable conservation. Infinitude cannot increase or decrease. That is, anantata cannot increase or decrease. Infinite is infinite. Brahman being an infinitude, its appearance per Maya cannot be and is not equal to or more than Brahman. It is everless. Creation is thus not any kind of growth. It is more or less manifestation. To acquire the knowledge, it is to progressively lessen the less till the one and only is realized. That is, lessen the less. That is, we have to decrease the Maya or Ajnana or ignorance and increase the acquiring the knowledge, the real knowledge. Then one and only one, that is, one and only one is that Brahman can be realized. Creation is really like involution, less followed by evolution, more of Brahman. Srishti or evolution is like so-called laya. The Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya cycle, Kalpa repeats in infinitum. Evolution reaching consummation is total dissolution, pralaya of apparent creation. There can be localized pralaya, says Vivekananda. The involution Brahman appears to become finite, temporary, change prone, many, less conscious. In evolution, the reverse happens. Evolution encompasses sentient beings up to man and beyond to superhuman, Mukta Jiva through sadhana, with Brahman appearing to become enduring, less change prone, more conscious. So things are subtler, more energetic, more interconnected, more one, and more aware, more conscious in deeper layers of nature, which is towards the beginning of creation, nearer Brahman. Thus, from Brahman, first of all, Ajnan, Maya, that is the veil of ignorance, then space and time, then Prana, energy, that is insubstantial, Akasha, when chronologically evolved, rather appear to evolve, the subtlest, less subtle, gross, grossest, with Jiva's sentient creatures coming towards the end closer to recent times. At some time in this process sprang tanmatras, particles incapable of participating in process. Since everything is only an appearance of the absolute Anantata, that is Brahman, therefore everything is essentially Brahman-like, infinite, one. There is really no plurality. So that is why this discerning man wants to go on living Sat, to know Chit, to experience pure joy, Ananda. Nothing is local, everything is global. But Maya bound man, the observer, sees the spacious many by erroneously considering forms, Nama Rupa of Brahman to be distinct, standalone, things, entities, events, creatures. He then concretizes the so-called many by affixing name tags to such things, etc. in the process called Namarupa, name come form. So, Bahurupe Sammukhe. Before you in myriad forms, unreal Adhyasa and Namarupa in Maya at her hoodwinking best. So all being essentially Brahman, everything of Maya phenomena is made up of Asti, Bhati, Priya, Nama and Rupa. Asti is existence, Bhati is appearance to sense, mind and intellect, Priya is joyousness or happiness or bliss, or the reflections of the intrinsic Sat, Chit and Ananda, which is Brahman, and the observer adds Namarupa to these, manufacture the spurious many. Thus, in most meaningful way, it is the subject observer who at least partially creates the so-called objective world. Maya is aghatana ghatana patiyasi, skillful in making the apparently impossible possible. Space-time causality, that is Deshakala Nimitta, is Maya, illusory and delusive. So when the Maya is lost, we can have the experience of Sat Chit Ananda, that is the complete bliss. That is why in Panchakosha Vidya, when Bhrigu Bhrigu's Anandamaya Kosha was opened up, he was completely immersed in bliss. He became Tallina and he didn't return to his father to teach him about Brahma. And then his father Varuna came to know that his son has acquired the knowledge of Brahman, that is the bliss. So the experiencing the Sachidananda, or this is called as self-realization in Vedanta. So in physics, experiment showed that observers moving at different speeds relative to light all measures light speed at the same c. Thus, in a manner of speaking, light has no relative speed. The above characteristic of light forms the basis of special relativity. Space and time are not different. It is one four-dimensional space-time. Simultaneity of events depends on observer speed. Space shrinks, time slows, and mass increases as observer's speed increases. Thus, observer plays a role in observation of the so-called objective. In nature, light speed c is the maximum speed of any particle or wave. Even two speeds added cannot exceed the speed of light. There can never be superluminal speed. For example, the net speed of a man running at 0.75 c speed on a ship moving at 0.75 c will be an 0.96 c and not 1.5 c. So E is equal to mc squared. Energy and mass weight are interconvertible, germ of an atom bomb. While conservation laws such as conservation of mass and energy were known, now it becomes conservation of mass plus energy. So after special relativity, general relativity was theoretically formulated. An observer under gravitation is the same as an accelerating observer. A gravitating body wraps the space-time around it, much as a heavy ball wraps the membrane on which it sits, just as the depression of the membrane seems to attract balls rolling into it and seems to make them orbit it. Similarly, the space-time wrap seems to create gravitational force that seems to attract and seems to keep bodies in orbit. There is in reality no such thing as gravitational force of attraction. Movements and changes in massive bodies generate ripples in space-time. Gravitation waves have been recently detected. A massive body grows in mass by attracting more and more matter into it, eventually have super high concentration of mass, which in time will punch a hole in space-time. The black hole has been observed. So light behaves like waves by producing wave-like patterns when split and recombined, and also behave like particles in photoelectric effect of light striking matter to emit electrons. So light is both particle-like and wave-like, wave-particle duality. Strangely, it travels as waves and arrives as particles. The above wave-particle duality forms the basis of quantum mechanics. So all measurements, observation involves an unavoidable, irreducible, minimum uncertainty or indeterminacy. This has nothing to do with the defects in the instruments of observation. It is a feature of nature itself. It is an experiment observation. Many outcomes are possible pre-observation, but one unpredictable outcome actualizes upon observation. The individual outcome is unpredictable, but the probability or chance of its occurrence is predictable. Yet, collectively, observation by observation, quantum by quantum, the wave-like pattern builds up. Like when quanta are allowed to go through either of two paths, they subsequently organize themselves in a certain way. When one path is blocked, the quanta recognize in a totally different way, as if the blocked path does not exist. So, when the observer does not register which of the two paths a certain quantum has taken, the wave-like pattern is produced. But when he does register the which path, a particle-like pattern results. So if the registration of which path is erased, immediately after registration, the wave-like pattern returns. So like hide and seek between quanta and the observer. When a composite particle with a fixed value of an attribute characteristic and definitive of such particle is split and separated, the values of such attribute on each component measured independently of each other, yet always add up to such characteristic value of the composite, even though the measured values of components actualize only upon the observation and not before. So a superluminal communication not being possible, this is known as quantum entanglement, an abiding oneness and clairvoyant awareness. A similar thing happens when two particles interact and separate after such interaction. They thereafter become quantum entangled with each other like two becoming one. So like two becoming, that is the unification of Jivatma with Paramatma, that is two becoming one. And the physicists and the philosophers are having one thing in common, that is the wave particle duty in physics and matter consciousness duality in Vedanta put forth the same epistemological issue, that is which is associated with concept of Maya in Vedanta has risen in modern physics in the context of the wave-particle duality. Although this duality at the level of physical matter might look a simple issue to the philosopher, it is not to be so taken as an experimental science like physics, where matter is sought to be studied as an objective reality existing independently of the observer. So particles and waves have certain opposing characteristics in that the former are considered to have definite location in space with clear physical dimensions, whereas the latter are extended in space and have such features or frequency, wavelength, and amplitude. In actual situations in the physical world, waves are often not of simple type like monochromatic waves, but are complex with several monochromatic waves superposed on one another. In order to describe a complex wave of this kind, we must have the lengths and amplitudes of all constituent simple waves, or as is called analogy with optics, we must have the spectral decomposition of the complex wave. So the quantum mechanics unifies the idea of the field and its waves and the particles all into one. The fundamental theory of the interaction of light and matter or electric field and charges is called quantum electrodynamics. In this theory, we have the basic rules for all ordinary phenomena except for gravitation and nuclear processes. Out of quantum electrodynamics come all known electrical, mechanical, and chemical laws. So, this has laid the uh, we have laid the basis for Vedanta and quantum physics in this session. Let us continue in our next session. We shall learn more about uh, Vedanta, the concepts converging to which are the principles having the same principles, both Vedanta and modern physics, having some common principles and common laws. Let us know in the sessions to come. Thank you for patience hearing.